right. So there's a version of Bobby Charles's I Must Be in a Good Place Now that I like to play on the piano in the key of F. Can't remember why. Maybe that's the original key. And I wanted to sort of go over kind of how I was thinking about it. And one of the things I'm going to talk about here is how to organize a song in your head so that you can play it in any other key, providing that you know that key's major scale. Now, in this song, we're in the key of F. If you don't know your F major scale, now you do. F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F. Now, when we play an F major chord, we play an F, an A, and a C, right? That's the first note of the scale, the third note of the scale, and the fifth note of the scale. But since our lowest note is F, we think about it as being an F chord. And it's called a one chord because it's a chord based off of the first note of the scale. Now, if you were to take those three notes and move them all one note forward in the scale, you would have a two chord, G minor. Do it again, and you have a three chord, A minor. Do it again, and you have the four chord, which is B flat, five chord, which is C, six chord, which is D minor, seventh chord, which is E diminished, and back to your original chord. So for the purpose of this video, you're going to hear me using terms like the one chord, the four chord, the five chord, the two chord, and that's what I'm referring to. Now, there are a few rules that are true for every chord scale, which is just a scale made up of chords, right? Instead of it's for every chord scale, and this applies to the major ones, I should say, not to minor chord scales. Your one chord, your four chord, and your five chord are going to be major. Everything else is minor except for your seven chord. As you heard, it's a diminished, but we don't have to worry about that right now. Now, this song is a one chord, da, to a two chord, to a three chord, to a four chord, to a five chord. That's pretty easy to memorize off the bat, right? Go from one up to five. Then at the end, we have this little triangle, or sorry, triad. Trifecta would be a better word. Four chord, five chord, one chord. So when you're trying to memorize a song, you want to identify patterns like this, and they'll be different for everyone, but patterns like this will help you keep a long chord progression in focus and give you a system to be able to organize those chords around. So instead of thinking F, G minor, A minor, B flat, C, C, F, I'm thinking play a 1 through a 5 chord in order and then do a 4, 5, 1. A lot quicker to say, right? Love is all around and all I see is you. I must be in a good place now. Now, the next part of the song, I make my one chord into this little, what do you call it? Like a 7 chord. And then I'm gonna go 4 minor. That's just taking your B flat major and turning it into a B flat minor. And then 1. Then it repeats. 4 minor, 1. Now here we're gonna go to a note outside of the key. That's modal interchange. Fancy word, all you need to know is that sometimes songs will take chords that are not in their major chord scale. We're going to go to A, right? Normally in this scale, our A chord is minor, but here it's a major, so we're going to call that a 3 major to specify it as different than normal. And then to our 6, right? So we got 4 minor to a 1, repeat. 4 minor to a 1. Oh, sorry, to a 1. Then 3 major up to a 6. Right? Then 4, 5. And that's what we think about as our second part, right? Now you might notice I said this was a B flat, but earlier I was playing this as a B flat. Now, What I'm doing here is called an inversion. When you invert a chord, you're just taking the normal order of the notes and flipping it around. So maybe I don't want this high note up here in my B flat. Maybe I want to take that F and put it down here. Maybe that sounds better, right? Or maybe in my C chord, I don't want that G at the top, I want it at the bottom. Inversions have a logic to them, but they're largely up to your taste, your ear, how you like to hear it. For me, I like to go in the beginning, I keep the root in every chord to give a little bit of tension. 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 4, 5, then a 1, right? But then when I go here, oh, what a good day to go fishing. At the bottom, in my left hand here, I like to do that. So instead of major chord, minor chord, right? I'm taking that F, I'm putting it at the bottom. And the reason I like that is because you get this ba-da-da motion, which is really pretty. Oh, what a good day to go fishing. Right? Do that 7 again. Repeat it. Catch that sunrise on a hill. And then we go to our 3 major. Dream of my yesterdays and tomorrows. There's our 6 chord. 4, and hope that you'd be with me still. So a lot of what I'm doing to sweeten up this song is picking my own inversions and practicing these inversions by taking each chord in the chord scale and just playing the inversion out across the keyboard. If F could be played F, A, C, it could also be played A, C, F, and it could also be played C, F, A, right? Or if B flat could be played B flat, D, and F, it could also be played D, B flat, or sorry, D, F, and B flat. Could also be played F flat, B, and D. When you get comfortable with that, what you're able to do is stack one inversion on top of another, right? Which gives you really big, cool sounding chords. Ooh, getting a little too spicy there. So a lot of what's happening here is that I'm also doing an old blues trick. When you have a major chord, so your 1 chord, your 4 chord, or your 5 chord, the note in the middle, if you approach it from a half step down, you get a blues sound. Right? There's all sorts of tricks you can extrapolate out from this. But we're not using them in this video. Some of the bluesisms will feel a bit too crazy, but it's all up to your ear and it's all up to your taste. So you can see how this numbered system combined with inversions would actually make it easy for you to play this song in another key. Because if you take what you know about constructing a chord from a scale, you can apply that to any other scale as long as you just learn the 8, but technically 7 notes in it. For example, if I want to do this song in the key of G, that's my G major scale. If you didn't know it, now you do. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now if I take that same logic, my 1 chord is going to be G, B, D, because I'm basing a chord off of the first note in the scale. My 2 chord is going to be A, C, and E, because I'm basing my chord off of the second note in the scale. Now my 3 chord is going to be B, D, and F sharp, right? Now we know that because when you look at all of the possible notes in the scale, we're thinking about what comes next in the scale, not on the keyboard. So you've got all white notes, but here you got a black note coming in, right? It's my 3 chord, my 4 chord is this, black note shows up again for my 5 chord, there's my 6 chord, 7 chord, back to your 1. So if I know, for example, that my verse is 1 through 5, right? Knowing again that my 1, 4, and 5 chord are major, and knowing that all the others are minor, except for the 7th, but that doesn't matter here because we don't play a 7 chord. I can just take that and apply it to my new chord scale, right? Love is all around and all I see is you. I must be in a good place now. What a good day to go fishing. Right there I'm going to my 4 minor, and then my 1. Right? Do it again. Catch that sunrise on a hill. Now here I know that I have to go to my 3 but make it major. Dream of my yesterdays and tomorrows. Then we're going to the 4 and hope that you'd be with me still. This is how musicians seem to magically move from one key to another. It's not magic. Everything that you see that amazes you or makes you feel moved, that feeling is magic. But the process that gets someone there is the result of a lot of work, a lot of patience, a lot of trial and error, and then just developing your ear for the sounds that you like. And practicing applying them in real settings. You don't just want to sit there in chord scale mode your whole life. You want to then take that knowledge and apply it to a key, to a song, right? So what you can do when you're playing this song is, instead of writing out the chords, try writing out the numbers. Again, that's 1, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4, and then 5. And then we've got 4, 5, 1, right? And then you can make that into a dominant chord. There's some theory behind that. I don't want to go into it right now because we have limited time, but just know that if you want to further bluesify your chord, go an octave above its bottom note there, right? Go down a whole step. So instead of a half step from F to E, go from F to E flat, right? This works for, like, if that's my C major chord, go a whole step, or go an octave up, right? This is just a quick trick for you to be able to do this. There's theory behind it. We can go into that in another video. But then, yeah, what did I say? It was 4, 4 minor, 1. Then that repeats. 4, 4 minor, 1. Make your 3 major all of a sudden, and then 6, right? And your 6 is going to be a minor. 4, 5, and then you're back in 1. That's the whole thing. If you write that out in parts and you use these structures, these formats, right? Like I said, another musician trick is to memorize a song. We're not thinking about all these chords necessarily. We're thinking, I'm going to play every chord in the chord scale in order from 1 to 5, 1 through 5, right? And then I'm just making a little trifecta in my brain, 4, 5, 1. That's a common, we'd call it a turnaround, right? You hear that all the time, right? So these are some kind of tips and tricks. I thought that I would use this song and try to make it a vehicle not just for seeing some of the weird and wacky ways that I play it, but also for conceptualizing a little bit of music theory, a little bit of the practicality of it, how you can use it as a songwriter or as a musician who maybe you've written a chord progression and you want to put it in a different key, but you don't know how, right? And so like some practical things to take away from this, I can't remember if I've already mentioned this, but try just learning a few major scales for your favorite keys. Maybe you like C. Go Google, what are the notes in a C major scale? Learn how to play them on your instrument. Maybe you like B. Go learn what those notes are in the B major scale. Maybe you like A. Learn some of these major scales and then learn how to picture all of the notes in the scale at once, right? That would be something like this. And move through them in that pattern I described, right? 1 chord, 2 chord, 3 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord, back to your 1, right? And if you have any questions, please comment. But yeah, this is just kind of a practical, I know it's an 18-minute video, but I tried to make it quick, but also easy to understand and applicable to some things. So hopefully this helps some people. And yeah, talk to you guys on the other side.